Hi, and welcome to Rudy Zissou's Science Fantasy Experience, and to an episode of Let's Talk. Let's Talk is my thoughts, my opinions, my likes, my dislikes, and my experience of pop culture. So, let's talk Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. So, there's a lot to talk about with Star Wars. There's stuff to like, stuff to dislike. There's a wealth of media, toys, everything involved with Star Wars. But for me, my favourite part of Star Wars of all time is Shadows of the Empire. So Shadows of the Empire is a multimedia adventure from 1996. There was a novel, there was comics, there was video games, there was an exclusive N64 game as well as a PC game. There was trading cards, role-playing games, and of course toys. There was Kenner toys and Micro Machines. So obviously I'm going to enjoy the toy part, and I've got a couple of things to show later on in the video. But I just wanted to talk about how much I love and what's involved with the multimedia adventure that is Shadows of the Empire. Shadows of the Empire is set in between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and introduces a couple of new characters. So you have Prince Zizor from the Black Sun, a sort of an underground gangster crime syndicate. You get Dash Rendar. He is kind of a Han Solo-esque character, another smuggler with a freighter. Introduces you to Snuva, which is Chewbacca's bounty hunter disguise, and you get to see another wealth of other characters, bounty hunters. You get to see obviously Luke and Leia, and Lando Calrissian. So in terms of the multimedia experience, the novel primarily focuses on Prince Zizor, and he's there to take out Darth Vader and to capture Luke Skywalker, and to take out Darth Vader, kill him, and to end up being the Emperor's right-hand man. He's by his side, to replace Darth Vader. But he is not force sensitive at all. He has no force powers, but he does have an extremely cool weapon, which I'll get onto later. Also in the novel, it tells much more of the story of Luke creating his lightsaber. He's already donning the black clothes, but he also has a norm core, very functional utility gilet in sort of a tan colour. So it's starting to show a bit more of the learning curve of Luke, and the slight more, I don't want to say darkness just because it's in black, but it's going along sort of that way. And it also tells much more of the story of Luke kind of finding his way through the learning of the Force. It also tells much more of the story of Leia getting her bounty hunter disguise and going after Han, who has been taken by Boba Fett and taken to Jabba Palace. There's much more of a story arc with her, and with Lando getting his disguise, which you see in Return of the Jedi. Dash Rendar is pretty much the main protagonist, especially in terms of characters, and he is the replacement for Han Solo, but he's suitably enough a lot more different. So he's not a stock filler. He looks different. He has a different grasp of weaponry, and he's much more of a hardcore smuggler. By that time, Han isn't kind of smuggling anymore, is he? So Dash is a much more kind of involved character in that essence. In some ways, I don't want to give too much of the plot away, because if you are going back to Star Wars and you do want to read up on Shadows of the Empire, I don't want to have ended up spoiling it for you. But Dash Rendar has, for me, the coolest ship in all of Star Wars. And it is, as I said, it's another freighter. It's actually a CEC YT 2400 class freighter. for you Star Wars nerds, some boffins out there, which he calls the Outrider, and it does very cool bits and pieces. It has a similar cockpit style to the Millennium Falcon, but it also has the ability to work like a what is it, a B-wing, where it can turn on its axis. It's a super cool ship. And there was a little homage to it in A New Hope with an extra digital scene, and it's seen flying out of Mos Eisley. Super cool. The comic, though, differs very much from the novel. The comic focuses way much more on Boba Fett and the bounty hunters from The Empire Strikes Back, what happens to them, and you get much more interaction, and you get a lot more of IG-88, the droid bounty hunter. If you are a big fan of the bounty hunters in the movies, then, because they just don't get enough of a look in, you get them for a couple of scenes, and that's it. If you are interested in bounty hunters, it's track down the comic version of Shadows of the Empire. I really enjoyed it. It did come packaged with a couple of the toys, actually. I think it came with the Boba Fett IG-88 double pack from Kenner. So yeah, track it down and have a read. Drop in the comments if you do get it, and let's open up a dialogue and chat about it. I'd love to talk about Shadows of the Empire with people, because in some ways it went under the radar, and then it kind of got forgotten, and then new canon came along, canon in animated cartoons came along, and obviously with what's happening now with LucasArts selling it off to Disney, there's none of this in the canon. It's all gone to Legends. So yeah, that's a bit of an overview of the novel part and the comic part. But as I said, there was computer games. There was an N64 exclusive title that came out, I'd say 6 months after the console first started, an exclusive to the N64. And I owned that game when I had my N64, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It also came out on the PC, which is a slightly different game with different cutscenes, different dialogue, but mostly some of the same bits happened in the game. But sadly, I've not played the PC version, and I don't know if I'd find it difficult to go back to that after my love of N64 and the Shadows of the Empire game on the N64. The game you are primarily Dash Rendar, and it's a kind of a first-person shooter in places, but you do get to fly a swoop bike, which is kind of like a speeder bike through Mos Eisley. So that it wasn't always just walking around and battling enemies. There was more elements to it, and the person playing Luke Skywalker did a pretty good version of the voice. Mark Hamill can't always do every voice of every game. In terms of Star Wars games in general, just as a side note, they're pretty hit and miss. I loved The Force Unleashed, and I loved The Empire Strikes Back on the Super Nintendo, and I loved the Pod Racer, the N64 Pod Racer game, and also, they're all on the N64 Star Wars games that are good. Also, there was, is it Rogue One? Again, it's been a while since played, but it works better when you had the little memory chip that went in the top of the N64. That was an awesome flying simulation, shooty shoot game. Very much enjoyed that. So yeah, that's kind of the multimedia part of Shadows of the Empire. But for me, it's always going to be the toys. The toys for me were so good. The toys brought the characters that I'd seen in the game and the comic to life. Obviously, they were made by Kenner, that had always made Star Wars toys before, and you got Prince Izor, you got Dash, you got Luke in an Imperial disguise armour, an elite trooper. You got Chewbacca as Snoover in his bounty hunter disguise with a flat top. So, and I've definitely got examples to show. You got Leia in her in her disguise, and it was a different mould to the other version that came out. The Soldiers of the Empire moulds were slightly different. The colour was slightly different to characters that had already been released as toys. There's a double pack of Vader with Prince Izor with 2 different weapons, different stances as well. And same with Boba Fett and IG-88. That Boba Fett has a different stance. So yeah, let's have a look at them. So I've got Dash. As you can see, he's a bit more armoured up than your usual smuggler, and he has an attachment of a gun with, it's got working parts. Let's get his gun into his fist for you. Toys with beards. Gotta love a toy with a beard. And it's the same bit with Kenner toys. You've got that articulation of each limb. Each limb moving, not as much as G.I. Joe and Mask, but yeah, you've still got those points of articulation. So yeah, that's Dash, a really cool character. He also fits into the Outrider in the cockpit. Onto, I'd say maybe this is my favourite toy of the line. Here we have Chewbacca in his bounty hunter disguise, Snoover, with a flat top. It comes with a gun. A really big heavy-duty gun, which is obviously different to Chewbacca as normal without his bowcaster, and he also comes with a vibro axe. And the detailing on the Star Wars figures they're so good. He's dyed his fur to give him that mottled look, to look so different from Chewbacca and a fake eye patch. Really cool figures. And again, just cool characters, real embellishment on, what these characters started out as. I'm not taking it, I don't take anything away from how good Chewbacca and Han Solo and what the other characters are, but, just adds another dimension. As I'm always going on, that extra little bit of flavour that comes into toys and toy collecting. It's going to be a theme of my videos, that little bit of flavour. So yeah, I've also got ones still carded. I managed to pick up a few of these a couple of years ago, and these are the American releases. So we've got, as I said, Leia in her Boosh disguise, and I know that they are American as they have a 1-800 number. So the UK ones had something very different. I think it had a seal of a different kind of seal of approval. But this is something that I alluded to in the first Let's Talk. It's the back of cards when you get to see what else is in the line. And if I go up close, you got the top row is actually stuff from the other line. I think it's Power of the Force, or even just literally when they brought Star Wars back onto the toy shelves. And we've got Snowspeeder, and then you can see a little bit of the Outrider, super cool ship. And then you've got a selection of different pieces here. So I don't know if my camera's going to pick. There's Prince Izor with his vibro shield axes, blades that deflect lightsabers, super cool. And we've got Luke in his Imperial Elite Guard armor, which we have right here. As you can see, he's got helmets to take on. He's got a staff. And it's just, again, the detailing is really, really cool. I do believe that there's different versions to this, because it's kind of like a hologram. Is it lenticular? I hope I'm using that word correctly. But yeah, I think further releases didn't have the lenticular bits. So I don't know if some of them are getting a bit tatty, so they might escape the plastic prison. I do like to get toys out of the plastic prison, so maybe in time if they get more damage, they'll go out. But or maybe I'll try and pick them up second hand, some open ones, because they're not exactly expensive on the secondary market, luckily. And you can definitely pick them up in the UK as opposed to getting them from America. So yeah, that's those in terms of figures. But we do have the Outrider, and here it is. I do have one ship from the line, and as I said, this is a super cool ship. It's got so many working bits and pieces, movable guns, full line of armoury. The cockpit opens. As I said, you can fit Dash in there. You can probably fit Chewbacca in there, maybe, although he is a big fella. He might have to lose his backpack, sadly. Bear with. So yeah, here we go. He's fully cockpitted. But as I said, you know, extra little guns. Actually, there's landing gear. Let's pop out the landing gear. You know, this toy doesn't fit in any of my like Kallaxes or my shelves. It's too big. It's not too big. It's the perfect size. But yeah, you separate the bit and then you can give it its, you know, its different motion, and it's weighted so the cockpit, the seat inside the cockpit stays at the same angle, just like Slave 1. So yeah, this is the Outrider. It's, as I said, it's a super cool ship. You know, based on a Y2 freighter, as all the best ships are. So yeah, do you know what the joy of this ship is? For me, it has the laser factor. And what I mean by the laser factor is this. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah, you get to do that with Kenner Star Wars toys. They're big, they're robust, and you can literally have so much fun with them. So yeah, those have been my thoughts and experiences of Shadows of the Empire. May the Force be with you. It's a trap!